Hello, this is the Green Corn Rebellion Show. I'm Gregory Hard II, and today I am here with Cody Hanson, who is the drummer for the band Hinder. How are you doing today?
I'm great, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Um, First question, it's probably like my second favorite question I have written down here is where are you from and where did you grow up at?
I was born in Plano, Texas, but we moved to Oklahoma when I was like a year old. So I grew up in graduated high school from Jones, Oklahoma.
All right, that's cool.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a graduate of Shawnee High School.
Ah, very cool.
Yeah. And you went to college at UCO, correct?
I did.
Yeah,
I
that's where
did.
I'm currently going.
Oh, very cool, man. What's your major?
History education.
Oh, very cool. Mine was marketing, which kind of worked out well. I didn't end up graduating. I left my senior year to go to Canada to record our first album. But
Yeah,
some of the things that I learned kind of served me well in what we do now. So
that's good.
yeah,
So that's also where you met your bandmates, correct? Is that UCO?
yeah, that's where I met Joe. We call him Blower, but Joe Garvey. That's where I met him, and the two of us kind of, I don't know. We obviously had a mutual interest in music, and that's where we met our first singer that's no longer in the band. But he didn't go to school there, but that's where we met him, and so that's kind of how it started with the three of us.
Episodes of the Green Corn Rebellion Show were brought to you by Addie's Sugar Shack, located at 1228 North Interstate Drive in Norman, Oklahoma. Norman's new shaved ice concept. They feature 45 flavor options plus unique snacks. They love the vibe. It's worth the drive. That's cool. Like, I remember whenever think it was my first year at UCO, like that summer, I think I was like looking at UCO and stuff, finding out stuff about UCO. And I was on Wikipedia and it was like famous people who went to UCO. And I looked at it and it said like the guys in Hinder, and I was like, I remember that band. I didn't know. I think I knew y'all were from Oklahoma. I just didn't know that you guys had gone to UCO. And I was like, that's really cool. And like I
And then you
hadn't
and then you were like, I also didn't know that they were famous.
well, I knew that much, but like at the time it was like, what was it? Like I had known because like remember Lips of an Angel because I remember that song whenever I was like 7 was when that
Oh,
came out.
awesome. Thanks,
And
dude.
well, don't thank me yet because at the time I didn't like the song. I had to grow to like it like later on as I grew up. And yeah. But I thought that was really cool. Like I was like, oh, that's super cool that they went to UCO. But episodes of the Green Corn Rebellion Show are sponsored by Oklahoma Progress Now. Oklahoma Progress Now is a 501c4 organization focused on building progressive power in Oklahoma. Their primary efforts are on developing progressive content for a 21st century audience, coalition, and capacity building across progressive organizations and causes, and working to see elected leaders who are more responsive to their constituents and the needs of the many. Areas of focus include progressive messaging and communications, coalition building and resource sharing, and focused progressive policy goals. You can check out their Twitch live streams, and they go live on Facebook on at noon, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Please support this organization. It's a really great organization. It's just getting started here in Oklahoma. Thank you. Now enjoy the rest of the video. Yeah, and so what was it like whenever y'all started getting famous and Lips of an Angel was being played on the radio all the time? What was that like?
It was, everything was at that time was happening really, really fast. You know, we were already out on the road because we had our first single was actually called Get Stoned.
Get
That was
Stoned,
our
yeah.
very first single. So you know, and that song did really well. I think it went to number 2 at Rock. And so we were already, you know, we were out on the road. Um, you know, just a bunch of young kids just partying it up, you know, in every town. And you know, I think when Lips of an Angel really took off, we were out on tour with Nickelback. So we were playing in arenas already, but like we were the first band of 4 and you know, at night, so every night. And you know, when we first when the song first came out, when we'd go on stage, typically on that tour, it'd be, you know, there might be some people on the floor and a few people scattered out through the stands. But as that song really like ramped up and took off, you know, by the time we went on at 7 p.m., every single night the arena was packed. And that's pretty rare for an opening band to draw that kind of a crowd on an arena tour. So it was, I don't know, man, everything was happening so fast. And we were just, like I said, just dumb kids partying way too hard. And it was just, I don't know, man, it was a whirlwind. You know, it was a lot of fun. And I don't know, we lived a lot of life in a short amount of time, that's for sure.
That's cool. Because like I remember when I was like in high school, it's when I started getting into like more rock music and hard rock and heavy metal. And there wasn't, I mean, like there still isn't that many bands that were from Oklahoma. Um, besides you guys, and I can't even think of any more at the top of my head. And I like it's just interesting to still like that you guys are still doing what you guys are doing. And yeah, and I occasionally I'll name drop you guys with a friend of mine. They're like, "Who's that?" I'm like, "Oh, remember Lips of an Angel?" They're like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's them." Like, "Oh, okay."
That's funny.
Yeah. Um, who are some of your biggest influences musically?
That's a really tough one because I'm so far like I'm just like all over the map when it comes to music. Growing up, I listened to everything from Buddy Holly to Jimi Hendrix, to Bad Company was one of my favorite bands. And then I got really into Metallica and Pantera. And I had an older brother, and he and sister, and they got me into gangster rap. So I was really into gangster rap for a while. And then I went through a phase where I was really into country. I was I don't really know that I could really name like my biggest influences, because I draw from so many different influences, I guess. I'm constantly, when I write music, I'm pulling from everywhere. So there's a lot of them.
That's cool. Were you ever into Limp Bizkit or Corn?
I was, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I guess around that era, I guess rap rock was really
Yeah.
big. Obviously Biscuit. So it's funny, like people make fun of me, but I actually still really love rap rock. Like I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of sad that it died out. Everybody kind of hated on it and still does, and that makes me sad because I like it. So
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of made a little bit of a comeback in a way. Like it's kind of like with people my age and like a little bit younger, it's like okay to listen to that stuff now.
awesome.
And it's and it's funny because like whenever I was in high school, that's most of what I listened to was just like Limp Bizkit, Korn, Linkin Park, Slipknot, that kind of stuff. And either no one knew who those bands were or no one liked those bands. So like whenever I was in high school, it was kind of just odd. But now I'm older, and now the high school kids, like I substitute teach, and then all of those kids they listen to that stuff, and I'm like, wait, what? I didn't know
That's awesome.
this is coming back. And then on social media, it feels like 90% of the time when someone's talking about rock or metal, they're talking about those bands, and I'm like, okay, I guess that's just the thing now. So it's kind of come back, and it's in an interesting way, and like kind of fun to see. I just wish Limp Bizkit would put out a new album. They haven't put out an album in like 10 years. So
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this. Are you a Head PE fan?
I like some of their
Do you know who Head
songs.
PE
I
is?
do. Yeah, I do know who they are. I like some of their songs. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I was really big into Head PE for a while. And that's one band that if they come through town, like I don't go to concerts anymore. Like I pretty much hate going to shows because that's what I do, all the time, right? Every night. But every time Head PE comes through town, I make sure that I'm there. They're one of my favorite bands. And I actually saw, this is kind of cool. I saw Linkin Park open for Head PE at the fairground way back in the day. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that's kind of cool. Yeah. And then obviously right after that, Linkin Park blew up and they're like the biggest thing in the world. So
yeah.
Kind of cool.
Yeah. I remember who was it? Do you remember the band Kitty from Canada?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had their former guitarist Fallon Bowman on a few months ago, and she was telling me about how, what was it? I think she said no. She told me that like Disturbed opened for them once. And I was like, oh, that's hilarious. And I think she
That's awesome.
she talked about how they met Nickelback like way back in like 1999 or 2000 or something. Like it was pretty wild. Like I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of we have a lot of ties to Canadian rock bands, and we knew the Nickelback guys way back when. We did our very first demos at Chad Kroger's studio at his house.
Oh wow.
So for our I guess it was right when we left school, which would have been our senior year. So we went up there, and that's where we stayed. We lived up in a little RV in this little trailer park basically, and drove over there and recorded at his house every day.
That's crazy. Oh
Yeah.
wow.
So we go way back with them, and we have a lot of stories for sure from them.
Oh wow. That's really cool. Wow. Have you ever been in contact with the guys in 3 Days Grace?
Yeah. Yeah, we've done several shows with those guys. They're really cool. So we used to have the same manager as a band called My Darkest Days.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt, their new singer,
yeah,
he was the singer of that band, obviously. So they were out on tour with us quite a bit, and we got to know him pretty well. But we've played several shows with the rest of the guys, so we know them all pretty well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's see here. Another question I have here is, you've been somewhat vocal about politics in the past, supporting Obama and Bernie Sanders. I'm curious, what helped form your politics, even though you grew up in a more conservative state?
It's funny. To be really honest with you, my politics haven't, they haven't always been what they are now.
Mhm.
You know, it's actually our singer that we have now, Marshall. He was really influential in kind of transforming my political views, to be honest. Which is kind of weird because he grew up in Tulia, Texas. So it's out in the panhandle of Texas. But he said a lot of the farmers out there, they were Democrats, growing up. A lot of the policies on the Democratic side really they're beneficial, for helping farmers. So he grew up a Democrat, and we just sit around and get drunk and talk about things. And he's very well versed, and he's a really educated dude, and a lot of the things that he would say, and I would try to like make arguments to him, and he'd be like, yeah, but what about this, like. And then I was like, you know what, man, I never really thought of things that way. When you grow up in a small town, and you kind of fall into like the herd mentality where this group of people, all your friends believe this way, and you just think that that's the cool thing to do, and you're just supposed to believe that way. You never really think about, like, man, is that really what's best for not only me, but just best for people in general? Is this the best way to help people? And once you break away from watching Fox News and really think about the real world, and think about the problems that that people have, that real everyday people have. I don't know, man. I just think that some of the more liberal policies are the way to go. So I think that's kind of where it all started. That was a long-winded answer. I'm sorry, but
That's cool. Yeah, like I supported Bernie Sanders in 2016 and 2020. And those are the first 2 years I got to vote in an election, or at least presidential election.
yeah.
But yeah. But
Yeah,
that's
man.
cool.
He's definitely like, I pretty much hated politics, for many years. And to be really honest, I still do hate politics. But I've really started to follow along, pretty closely. And I don't know, man. There's something about old Bernie. He seems to be one of the more honest politicians out there. And he's one of the guys that I truly believe just like he cares and really wants to do the things that he says. You know what I mean? I think he's one of the rare ones. And
Yeah.
it's tough seeing a guy that you believe in that much, lose and struggle. And it's a struggle with messaging more than anything. I think he kind of hurt himself with the whole, like, with the label that he put on himself as a democratic socialist. I think that's one thing that I think Democrats really struggle with is messaging. They'll get caught up in a moment and say one thing that they don't really mean it that way, and they kind of forget that, like, the other side is really good at, like, taking a couple of words and twisting it around into something that it's not.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think that's an unfortunate situation with what happened to Bernie, because I think that dude has a lot of ideas and thoughts that would have helped a lot of people, Republicans especially. So I don't know if you wanted to get all that detail, but those
No,
are
that's
my
good.
thoughts on him.
No, that's good. I also thought it was really cool finding out that you were a Bernie supporter. I was like, oh, okay, guy from Oklahoma went to UCO and a rock band, also a Bernie supporter. That's really cool. I got to get him on.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
So my last question here is, it's kind of two questions, but who is your favorite band that you've toured with, and what's a band that you'd like to tour with in the future?
Man, that's well, I get asked that question a lot, and I don't really know that I have an answer. You know, we some of our favorites have been, you know, like smaller bands that people may not necessarily be aware of. There's a band called Rev Theory
I've heard of
that
them.
we get. So when they came out on the road with us, they were called Revelation Theory, and then it kind of shortened down to Rev Theory. But you know, we got really close with them. There's a band called Lynam that we got really close to. A little more recently, there's a band called Wayland that we had a lot of fun with and got really tight with. But man, we I don't know, we're the kind of guys that you know, form friendships with whoever it is. It doesn't matter, you know, we can find common ground and become friends, and just we just like to have a good time, you know. And I think probably like one of our favorite tours ever was one of our first ones with Nickelback. You know, we had a lot of like their tour manager was actually our manager, and so we were treated really well on that tour. And you know, there's some small town guys from Canada. You know, they were actually like really similar to us, and so they treated us really well. We had a really good time with them. But yeah, man, there are a bunch of them. You know, we've rarely come across a band that we, you know, haven't made friends with.
It's cool.
Yeah.
And no any bands that you'd like to tour with in the future, possibly? That you haven't toured with yet?
I can't really think of any, to be honest with you. Like maybe one of my favorite bands that I've discovered recently, another Canadian band actually, is the Glorious Sons. They're you know, they're a little bit different from us. You know, they're a little more alternative leaning, but I think as far as like songwriting goes, they're one of the best bands out there. So and I think it'd be pretty cool to tour with them, maybe. That's really the only band that I can think of that we haven't toured with already. You know?
Right. Well,
Yeah.
this has been fun talking with you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Where can we find you on social media? And is Hinder working on anything that's going to be happening soon?
You know, I think we've kind of taken a break from doing anything new. You know, we're going to be out this summer playing shows and you know, doing some touring. But I think, you know, I think right now we're all in kind of different headspaces creatively and musically. So I don't know that we're going to be doing anything new anytime soon. But you know, I have a studio downstairs, right? So at any moment I could change my mind and go down there and come up with something and then put it out, you know, like within a matter of days. So you never know what's going to happen. But right now, I think we're kind of just taking a break from creating anything new. But you know, but it's, as far as social media goes, we're easy to find. Everything is Hinder Music. So you know, we're still like old school. We don't do TikTok or anything like that. we don't like doing like dance videos and making fools of ourselves on a daily basis. So we just keep it simple. Just, you know, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. So we're easy to find.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.